I mean, this morning a big deal happened, right? Like Sun and Moon, it's here. What was your reaction to the trailer and to the way Pokemon Company decided to unveil it? Because some folks like to assume, oh, this is Nintendo and Pokemon Company. Newsflash, Nintendo does not own or tell Pokemon Company what to do. They work in collaboration. In fact, they're a separate entity. Nintendo kind of says, all right, here's what we think, and they come to an agreement. It's not one versus the other. It's they work together. But this morning's announcement was an interesting way to do it. And it was kind of deflated by the Sun and Moon leak the day before.
Totally.
Right, and even if it hadn't leaked, I don't know if a live event was necessary for because there wasn't a lot of detail, right? We didn't get a whole lot. It was more of this sizzle reel of like why Pokemon's great. And of course I appreciate that as a lifelong Pokemon fan. But I mean the leak definitely took away from the impact, but also I just thought, this maybe wasn't the they blew it up as like, this is our Pokemon Direct, this is our big event.
Yeah, I expected some really big announcements, maybe just not one game, but maybe multiple games.
Yeah, for the 20th anniversary, I expected it to be this monumental
like maybe
live event.
Detective Pikachu or something coming in the West.
Yeah,
that would have
like
been big.
Even Pokemon Go information or
absolutely no Pokemon Go information.
Previews of, I mean, they have the one wireframe bird-looking Pokemon in that trailer, but other than that, like I was expecting something about what might change in this new generation of games, and we didn't get any of that. Of course, it is early, but still.
Yeah, and granted that we did get to know that it's coming out this year, like this holiday season, which is really nice.
Yeah.
But also, it's just like, if you're gonna come out this year, just show us just a little bit more.
Yeah.
And of course, there are a lot of events for them to show stuff off. We have, E3 and TGS and all this other stuff if they show anything at TGS. But it's just a little bit of letdown that they made it. It seemed like a big deal. But I mean, it is a big deal to announce a new game, but when you don't show anything with it, it's hard to be excited for that.
Yeah, and it almost feels like the leak caught them off guard. Like they had, let's assume this video was done this week, if not the week before. Right. They've been sitting on this announcement clearly, but the fact that they were willing to walk into this announcement thinking, okay, if the title leaks, all we're doing in this video, forget if the title leaks, all we're doing with this video is confirming that the next generation of Pokemon is happening. And that's an exciting thing. Let's not undervalue that, right? Like we're all excited about that. We're all happy about that. But I do think that the minute this patent leak was brought to the surface, since that was the only thing you were really bringing to the table outside of, okay, Pokemon Bank will work with the virtual console games. We're going to get to that. It did like just sucker punch the whole thing.
Oh, totally.
And it was like, hey, you really did wish that they were going to... There's a lot of excitement for what it's going to look like, because I can't help but wonder, what is this thing going to look like? Like, the minute they open the 3S, they do this clever thing where they're like, oh, fade out, we're done.
Yeah.
You can't see. No more. No mas. Pikachu. Like, you know what I mean? And so to me, it was like, it's an exciting announcement that doesn't really have substance to it yet,
Yeah.
And you could tell yesterday when the images did leak, or when the patent trademark
showed up.
There was complete radio silence from the Pokemon Company's official Twitter, and I could only speculate how they were handling the situation.
Yeah, it probably wasn't a lot of time to redo anything. They were just like, and put this in multiple languages in one day, like impossible.
Yeah.
To be fair to them. Okay, so then let's talk about the clips that they did show. Yeah. So obviously, you saw Ishihara, you saw Masuda, you saw folks working on this next game. What do we catch from it? What do we see? What did I spies?
Well, I don't know if it's something that's still up for question, but I'm pretty sure next gen is confirmed. People are speculating that this is going to be, a sequel to either X and Y or Oris, Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. But not only did the UK press site confirm that this is a new generation of Pokemon, in the montage for the highlight reel, they pointed out the release date for every core Pokemon game, not the remakes or anything. So they, Gold, Ruby, Sapphire.
The most recent release was absent. No,
exactly.
It makes total sense.
So all that just points to this is totally a new generation.
What gen are we on? 8?
This will be
7.
7. Gen 7.
Yeah, the other thing that indicates that to me is, I don't know, we're getting to Pokemon Bank but the way Pokemon Bank will work indicates that Sun and Moon are kind of separate from how X and Y work with Pokemon Bank. So yeah, we'll get to that, but it does indicate a new generation. So
They didn't really mention that the Pokemon from the Virtual Console ports of Red, Blue, Yellow will be able to transfer Pokemon to X and Y or
they have Pokemon Bank information, but we'll get there. The other thing I noticed is the wireframe bird Pokemon, which looked sort of like Mandibuzz, and then I checked and it wasn't. So new Pokemon indicates a new generation as well.
Totally, yeah. My initial thought was that that was like Fletchling, a prototype of like Fletchling, but it looks totally different.
We also have a lot of legendaries that need their own story.
Yeah.
So, they have their time to shine, but how they work with sun and moon theme is a little weird. We have Pokemon from the moon, so,
Yeah, and there wasn't a single shot of a moon in anything that they showed. I was just there like, okay, where's the moon? What moon? There's a moon, right?
Yeah. I was kind of hoping it would be a little bit more futuristic, maybe.
Yeah.
Because we don't see Pokemon just kind of seems to happen within this bubble of time, and like technology isn't really far forward in any of them or anything.
It's ultra contemporary in a lot of ways. Yes.
And we saw some art of vehicles, and I was just a little bummed because like here's a normal truck. It's carrying some Pokemon.
But it's got a Machamp in there.
Yeah, but then here's a Blastoise and a firefighter truck. It's
that was weird. Interesting to me because like in the anime Pokemon have jobs like even in the games like in Ruby and Sapphire like a Machamp helps you move in so it was interesting. I'm like, okay, are the trucks part of like how Pokemon help? Are they factoring? It was just weird because
are you gonna be able to drive?
Like, am I going to be a 10-year-old who can drive, or am I going to be like a 16-year-old who can drive? I don't know. That was interesting. The Sun and Moon thing is still pretty unclear. I wonder if it has to do with Zygarde and different Zygarde cores. Because I don't think it would be Lunatone and Solrock. That doesn't really make sense. They wouldn't warrant
that.
They wouldn't warrant
Even though
their
they
own
do
games.
show up in that sizzle reel. I know everyone who was watching caught that and was like,
Totally.
there it is. The sun and the moon. Where's it going to go from here?
Oh, right, the double battle.
Exactly.
The other options would be like Umbreon and Espeon are like day-night Pokemon. It doesn't make sense.
It's not a strong.
It's not a strong basis for a separate game, whereas Zygarde would be more likely since Zygarde kind of needs its own.
See, but I wonder if the Zygarde ship sailed just because they didn't do Pokemon Z. That was something folks were expecting, and then that just didn't happen, right? So it makes you wonder if, Zygarde will probably be worked in, but if maybe the focus is, the focus in each gen, right, is always on this new type, in most cases, with the exception of Black and White, where that was a clear sequel to a previous game. So it'll be really interesting to see how they sort of tackle this thing. I'm also just really excited to see it because X and Y and Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire both look great, but they also, the engine, you can tell it was barely holding together in some cases, right? Like you'd have like a swarm of Pokemon show up and you'd just be there like, you'd see like the creaking and the frame rate take a hit, and you'd be like, oh man. And you also already saw from the logo that it's going to be mostly 2D with some areas you'll play in 3D. So once again, you're going to have, some folks are really disappointed by that. Like they want to play a 3D Pokemon game all the time. To those folks, my answer has always been too, like, hey, you should calm that down because this thing is always connected to the internet if you connect via Wi-Fi, and you want to turn on 3D, like your 3DS is going to last you an hour.
Totally.
Like that's not
true.
That's not realistic. Like they have to consider this is an on-the-go game as well. So we'll see how that goes.
Definitely have to factor in the technical limitations. Like even though we can dream big about a full 3D Pokemon world, there is a lot going on behind the scenes with like the global trade system and Wonder Trading and the PSS, especially in the last generation. So. Yeah. So I guess to wrap our thoughts on, sort of where Sun and Moon are, we don't really know what to think yet because we haven't seen it. And I think it'll be really exciting to see it. And if you're listening, like Pokemon Company, make that reveal like worth it because
real soon.
Yeah. Well, or in a month or two, like clearly, probably before E3, you could imagine they're going to show it to us. Let's just take that bet. But I'm really interested to see how this thing's going to look because look how Black and White turned out, where they did turn that style and went really far with what they can do in 2D.
Exactly.
And I'm expecting that with 3D in this case.
Totally.
Yeah. Are we all on board with that?
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, there is that concept art of the building with like the water Pokemon outside of it, and it looks like the way like Lumio City looked in 3D.
That's right.
In X and Y. So. Yeah, I'm excited to see what they do with that and what's new.
All I want is some space action. I know we had some delving into space in the Delta episode of Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. And so having a Pokemon series that takes place in space would be amazing.
Oh my god.
I like this. All right.
Go to the Clefairy homeland.
Also, I feel like it would open up like the like creativity to, you know, make like super like weird alien type Pokemon or something. Maybe they'll make a new type, alien type.
Alien type.
Oh man,
Space type.
Space
One more
time.
type?
Anti-gravity type.
Can we do one more type? I guess we have to.
I'd
Buckle
welcome
up
it.
for that.
I would welcome as much balancing as possible.
Yeah, Fairy is a little bit OP, not too OP, but there's not a lot of good poison types to balance Fairy, so it would be interesting introducing a new type and seeing how the metagame shifts and how type matchups shift.
Yeah. I
Okay.
agree.